Well, week 6 done. 23 weeks to Summernats, that's a bit scary, isn't it? I might have to change that to how many days, it might sound a bit longer. So 23 weeks to go. Yeah, look, I don't know what the whole COVID thing's going to do to us, but we're just trying to keep moving forward. I spoke to Simon on FaceTime. There's all those other opportunities to talk to people. I seen the footage you guys seen with what he's doing with the seats. Just had a chat to him about squaring the headrest up a bit. We've had an agreement on the leather and also the carpet. So the owners signed off on what we're doing there. And then I've now got the engine out, you can probably see behind me. So got that out, moved the car off the hoist, and now I'm going to start working on all the bits and pieces. So you'll see in there what we've done with the sump. The exhaust is finally finished, 100% ready to go off to be coated. So we're looking to do that in a ceramic. So we'll keep you posted with that. Hopefully we can do some footage up there. And then really just doing loose ends, trying to get organised. Did a little bit more on the boot lid. And the next stage now is to finalise the engine bay. And there'll be a few bits and pieces on that in this week as well. So welcome back, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode. So the exhaust is out now, and just before we pull the motor and the trans and all out, I really just wanted to check this starter motor because we've got an adapter plate and a different starter and all different bits and pieces. So I've been caught before with builds where everything's meant to work and you don't test it, and then you paint everything and put it together and something doesn't work. So I'm just going to set the camera up here and then put some power on it and see how it goes. Righto, so here we go. Let's see how it happens. Fingers crossed. Nice. So here it is. Soon I had to take it off. So it's pretty much ready to go now and get coated. So really happy the way it's come out. It's quite balanced from side to side. And once I pull it apart again, I'll reckon I'll weigh it to see how much it weighs, because it's a pretty hefty piece of gear. So today I'm going to pull the engine back out. I was hoping to get Phil here to do the fuel lines and stuff, but we'll just have to redo that later. So I'm going to pull it out today. Just what I wanted to mention, this thing here, when the motor first came to us, it was in a nice big box, and I thought, how are we going to move this all the time without scratching it? So chose to make something specific for the job. So made the top rail up, obviously a bit of adjustment, so I'm just going to list engine only now, but if you're doing the trans as well, you can move it around to get that to come out. And then just bought some nice straps. I think they were a Bunnings job. They're rated. Works really good and easy on all the polish, so we'll give it a go, see if we can get it out. Oh, I'm not sure if I got myself in the right spot here. No, I have to go back down. I'm in the wrong hole. Righto, second time lucky, eh? Obviously went the wrong way with my adjustment there. I don't know what this big thing weighs, but it'll be a bit, I think. I just got to clear the rack. Oh, starter's dragging a bit. Probably should have took that off. So one thing I find when building these things, when you go to put this back in for the last time, you've normally done it that many times, it gets a lot easier and you can do it without scratching things, because people always ask that, how did you put it together without scratching it? But more often than not, you've done it that many times, you got a system and you know how to do it. So hopefully when it goes back in next time, I'll have some blokes here to give me a hand. Righto, so now that's out, bit of a struggle, I've got my breath back. So when this engine came to us in the crate, it was on this stand. And that came all the way from the US. So I decided that we'd utilise that, you know, to move the motor around. So we put some wheels on it, but then we found it wouldn't fit inside this when we wanted to pick it up all the time. So once again, make that bit of extra time to make things fit. So now I've chopped the front off that, moved it in, or Darren did it months ago, and moved these back ones so that we can fit everything onto the stand and be able to use the crane and make the process easier, because the all the way through the build, things are on and off, so that just helps with that whole process. So one of the things I've talked about, I don't know, episode 2 and 3 was about these engine mounts needing a bit of a tidy up. So I was just marking out where I want to cut those, and I thought, well, I may as well show you how I do that. So nothing over exciting, except I use a circle gadget that you get for doing tech drawing and that sort of stuff, probably from Officeworks, someone like that. So that's got all the different size circles on it. So I've just worked out this bottom circle here where the bush is 32. And then I've just got a little white marker here that's a 1mm marker. So I've traced that circle around, and then working back from there, found a few different size containers and stuff to get my reverse curve going the opposite way, because the ones on here aren't big enough. So I've marked those each side, squared up through here, and then I'll make a template of that so that I can make all 4 the same size and trim it down, and it should look a whole lot better. So now that the engine's out, we've been able to make the bits and pieces to change the shape of this sump. So we took 30mm off the bottom of that, like that. So I measured up the capacity that held, and then added the wings onto this one to make up that same capacity, so that we maintain the original capacity that John Case and Steph's had worked out for this sump. And this is the front of the sump, and this is here for the oil pump, and then the pickup comes around and ends up at the back. So we've had to work our way around the dipstick tube, also the starter motor, and obviously those new pipes I've made up. So we've got the capacity we need. It doesn't look too bad. I'm going to drop that out to Matt at J&T once COVID's over, and get him to weld it up, and then we'll give it a polish. Come up looking good. So besides that ground clearance issue, the other problem we had was the rack. Here we needed a bit more clearance. We've dropped that down about 5mm, and we've had to check inside to make sure we've got no issues with conrods and stuff. And then this here tapered down this way and got in the way of the rack. So this has given us enough room to be able to get everything in place now. On the inside, it's obviously got that windage tray. So we've had to make some mods here. And then the little trapdoor set up, it's got some rubbers that go in there that make it into a trapdoor. We've shortened that down to 30mm, and we've had to cut it and rebend it. And then this little flap here, obviously a drainage one to stop the oil flowing back over the top, but made a new one of those because we've shifted everything forward. So once that goes back together, hopefully you won't see where we've been. Another clean-up job after that engine coming out. Every time I mentioned exhaust, I sort of indicated that these had to be trimmed down, so I've taken a fair bit of meat off of those and put a couple of spaces on the back just to give us a couple of extra mil of clearance, because there's just a boss set up on the block that they go onto, and then put a gusset in here so that it takes out any potential for that to move under braking. So they're pretty much ready for a clean-up, and another job that can go on the to-done list. It's funny, after all these years of doing this stuff, I still get a bit excited about some things. The fact that I can stand here and look at this now and think that I started off with a box of bends and I've ended up with this pretty cool looking bit of art here, I'm pretty stoked about that. And that's the sort of stuff that keeps me going and coming out here and messing about building these cars. I'm pretty stoked. And one of the main reasons to bolt them up like this was to make sure that they're going to bolt up nice and flat on the heads, because one of the issues when you put heat on steel or stainless steel, things tend to want to warp and move about. So I just wanted to make sure that this face was going to bolt up nice on the head. And ideally, any set of extractors you put on a car, you really should put a straight edge along it, just a steel rule or something like that. And quite often they need a bit of a hand file just to make them nice and flat. so that you don't get hassles with blowing gaskets all the time. So someone asked about sealing inside, so it's just got that little star piece tigged in before I put the outer on, and then I've got in there with the MIG and just made 100% sure there was no air leakage, because the air sensor's here, so for the computer, so if you're sucking any air anywhere around these areas, it's going to give that a false reading, and it'll be showing that it's lean, and it'll keep wanting to richen it up. So it's going to make sure they're fully sealed up, and hopefully that's, well, not hopefully, I know I've had the light in there and it's all good. So another job in the done file. So I mentioned in one of the earlier episodes that we're having an issue to work out where to run the fuel filler to the tank. So I've decided to move a few things around a little bit, just picked up the sub box 25mm. I'm going to put the outlet in the front of the tank here. And I've just got some stainless bends turned up on Friday that are going to go in there. It'll go around and then put one up in there, and that'll get us over and up to the pickup point there. So my plan's to make all that out of stainless, that way we don't have to worry about treating it. And then I'm going to put a rubber joint here and another rubber joint down here, the same as the factory tank has the rubber joint coming this way. So that'll get us up, around and behind, and then when the trim piece goes in, you won't see any of that, and we don't have to worry about lifting the floor up. So another problem solved. Panel gaps. So everyone's always asking about panel gaps. So it's something I've been doing for a while now. So this particular car I'm working on 5.5mm, and I do that because once you get all the paint and fillers and stuff on, you're probably going to end up around just under 5mm as a finished job, and I think that looks good on these cars. So at the moment, this has got the boot rubber in it, and over this side here I've got a spacer in there that it runs along at 5mm, and that spacer is just one of these. So they're a window packer for Bunnings. You buy a full pack there, so all different sizes from 10mm. So I was using some of those on the exhaust to make up where the gasket goes as well. So I've done from here up to about here at the moment. So it's a case of using the micrometer, and I bought myself some digital ones last year, which makes life a lot easier. So I just stick those in there, get a width, 4.8, so I want a bit ground off it. So I try and grind them down to around 6, maybe 6 and a bit, and that allows me to weld the edge and then leave me a bit of weld after I've finished, so that I don't end up with a really thin edge whereby it then wants to crack. So I'm not sure what this will pick up with the light. So this edge here, you can see under the bottom here where it's going to need a little bit more welding when it's taken off the car. So I'm up to here, and now I'm going to weld this edge. So that actually looks like the original, hasn't been ground or anything there, so I mightn't have to go too much further on there, just depends on the gap. So I'll try and get some footage. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but I'll set the camera up and see what we can do. Okay, so I've gone along there now and just measured each of those, marked on the boot lid here, 6.5, 6.6, 6.4, 6.5. So now I can get the MIG out and go along and weld that edge, and then I'll grind it back. So the tools I'm going to use on this job is the old 40 grit, just on 100mm. And then this one here, I've got the flat disc, so there's 60 grit, and I've cut back the plastic mounting on that, and that gives me a little bit more flexibility because I want to get that in and make the shape. Steel ruler, my micrometers, a dolly, the hammer, I'll probably have another hammer in a minute, a file, and I really like these. This is a lathe file. It's actually got a nice one-way grain. It's not a double cut. I'm trying to get a vision of that, but it doesn't seem to want to work. And then a couple of sets of vice grips. So I'll make a start. Okay, so I'm all set up. So air hose in one hand, MIG in the other, and then so you need a good enough weld that when you're doing it, you're actually going to have enough build, but also top and bottom. So I'm trying to weld right on that front edge, and then only do 6 or 8 spots, and then once you've done those, cool it with the air. But if you go too early with the air and it's still molten, it'll actually blow a hole in it. So a little bit of timing involved. Okay, so once it's welded, should end up with something like that. And then these couple here was just a couple of pinholes in the weld where I'd been last time. I just filled those up. So now I'm going to grab the disc and give that a clean up. So one of the things that happens when you do this sort of work is that you can see there the panel's pretty much flat all the way to the edge. Once you put that heat on there and weld it, you'll find that it wants to sit, the heat pulls it. So one of the fallacies that's always been around is that when you weld something, you're actually stretching the metal, or there's too much metal so it bows. What's actually happening is when it cools, it shrinks. And because we're cooling it with the air, and I'm cooling it with the air so I don't get distortion right back into the panel, but it's actually shrinking the edge. So what I'm going to do now is put the dolly on there and hammer from the back to take some of that back out so that it grows back and get rid of that pull down on the edge. So I've done this here. Wants a bit more there, and we want to get it back so it's like original, like that there. So always hit from underneath, so dolly on the top. So what my aim is not to bend the panel, but to actually, by hitting that weld, to stretch the weld a bit, that'll actually make it longer and want it come back up. So that's about halfway there now. It's pretty good just there. So a little bit more here. And I like to do this as I go rather than, weld the whole lot and then have to come back. So that's, very, very close. I'm happy with that. Want a bit more just here. Okay, it's not too bad. A little bit there. So even when you're welding this stuff, the heat, when you're grinding it, the heat from the grinding can effectively move the panel as well. So you just got to be careful, trying to keep it cool all the time, not overwork it. Okay, so now I've done that and I've cleaned that outside edge up, I'm just going to check. So I normally get a pencil and mark it on the panel what I've got. So you just got to make sure it's right over against my spacer over there, because you don't want to have to do it and then find you're actually taking too much off. So it's showing 4.6 there, it needs a bit off there, 4.8. Nearly 6 mil, so I've almost taken a bit too much off where I'd already welded it, but I took it back till I got rid of all of the holes. So I've got a bit carried away there, 5.1. So what I do now is get this one and run it along here. And it's a bit hard because this is sort of getting in my way a bit, but I need to do it on the job and then check my distances as I'll go. So I'll just work that out and give it a go with the sander. .3, 5.7, 5.9, so we're a bit wide from there, so down through here is not bad. So that flat file I had there, the reason for that is I like to use that now to make sure that I've got that a nice straight edge. And put a bit of a round, flatten the top off. And like the factory edge, because it's a rolled edge, it's got a nice radius on it. So I like to try and get that radius back in. And I've got a couple of little nicks in that there that I've got to fill up. Five. 5.9, it's a bit of a bugger, it's a bit wide. 6, so just going to have to redo through here. And it really is one of those processes to get a really nice job. You can actually see there, turn that light down a bit, to get that even gap. It doesn't take much, 1/2 mil and you'll actually see it. Righto, so probably half hour or an hour since I did the last film, and you can see all the measurements there. I've been along here about 3 or 4 times now, working my way towards that 5.5 mil, and it's getting pretty close now. So I've just got a couple here, 5.6, 5.8. The rest are either the right size or just a tiny bit smaller, and I've just moved this here a bit. A little bit on the corner here, and that's starting to really take some shape now. Getting pretty close. Okay, so that's about it for me for this week. Sunday arvo, I'm just got that pretty close, and hopefully it'll look pretty good that way as well. So tomorrow I'll see if I can knock over the other side and across the front, and then that'll mean I've got the back pretty much done all the way up because the doors are done. So that'll be good. So I thought this week we'd cover some of the stuff we do at Astill Design for parts. So we do rust repair panels for XA, B, C Falcon. And the reason we do just that range is the fact that that's the cars I've been working on for probably the last 6 or 8 years. And people are always asking me where I got my parts from. So I started buying extras and then helping people out with the panels. So we've got quite a large range, and that range now is up around the 50 or 60 lines. And I deal with 8 or 10 different companies from all around Australia. And a lot of those people are coupe or sedan fanatics, and they've started developing parts themselves for their own cars, and I've been aware of it, and I've got them making them for me. So some of the newer lines, this one here, on an XC Falcon, there's a brace goes in the inside of the door for the door lock, and it was an upgrade that Ford did, so that's a part that now could be used on an XA or B, but it's an XC part, and a guy manufactures those, and they're really nice, clean item. Same as plenum parts. This particular one here goes at the rear of a Falcon. This one's the coupe, but it will fit a sedan as well. And once again, I've got a guy now that's doing that in a one-piece pressing. So it's a new version of something we've offered for some time. And then these are a new line as well now. So these are the drip gutter that go on the A pillar, so from the windscreen up. So that's another new line. We do those. We're in the process, Jamie that makes those, I'm in the process of working with him. We'll actually have the sedan ones as well. So it's really been an evolution of parts. We used to do just the top of this section. There's a local guy here now that makes these with the step down for the tank. So it's so much easier to do on a really nice panel. And then I also keep a range of stuff that's, you know, out of Thailand or China or somewhere that are a known part. You know, they're sold by a whole lot of people, and I'm able to source those. So the sort of panels that come in that range are the sill panels, front and rear stone trays, bits and pieces. So got heaps of it. It's all on my Facebook page. Just go into the photo albums, have a look and shoot me a message and I'll help you out with what you need. So we've got the giveaway this week, so decided today's the final day for that. So we've got 290 comments, which is sensational. Thanks everyone for that. That helps us get a bit more coverage on YouTube, which is what it's all about. So thanks for that. So I've got a random number generator here. So I've got my 290 people. I'll hit the number. And number 3, would you believe that? Number 3, that makes it really easy for me, is the winner. I can't believe how low a number that is. So I'll have a look now. Whoever the third person was to comment is the winner, and we'll send them a message and get the Mothers product out to them. So I'd like you to do me a favour. When you finish watching the program, just go on and share and then copy that link and then send it off to some friends, and let's see if we can grow the numbers. I'd really appreciate it, and we'll get this thing really rocking. So thanks for joining us again this week. It's good to see a few things getting finished off and get all that sump and stuff away and get it welded after we get through COVID. So, well, if we get through COVID. And looking forward to doing a bit more bodywork next week. So thanks for joining us. Don't forget, click on that, copy that link, and let's see if we can get this page really rocking. Appreciate all your help, and I hope you continue to enjoy watching Astill Design. Thank you. Bye.